All right. And we're live for the latest edition of Nick Valencia Live. Hey, everybody. I'm the host and founder of Nick Valencia News, and this is Nick Valencia Live. This is where we dig into the conversations that we've been wanting to have. Nothing is drive-by news here. We go in depth on conversations in our discussions where we focus primarily on immigration. And hey, everybody, we'll just wait for a little bit as we get people welcomed in the chat. Hey, Cynthia. Hey, News Lady. Hey, Nat. Hey, Mark. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us. Envy and familia. I love that. Mi gente, mi familia. I love you guys so much for being so active and involved. We have a really big show here today. We're kicking off officially in a minute from now, but why not just get this thing underway here? We have today a very special guest, the editor of LA Taco, Javier Cabral. He is somebody who I've really admired their work the last 3 months. They started as a very popular food blog in Los Angeles. Want to start this, Cynthia? Hey, how are you, Amanda? Welcome, everybody that's joining. Come on in here. Back to LA Taco. They started as really sort of a popular kind of hipster food blog. My friends would read them and talk about them, buy their merch. I remember my buddy Asher Goldstein meeting up with him for breakfast one day, and he had his LA Taco shirt on. I'm like, oh, what's that? They have quickly become an institution in Los Angeles, a vital part of living in LA. For anybody who's interested in social justice and really interested in what's going on, their editor, one of their editors over there, Memo, he issues the Daily Memo, where they highlight all of the happenings in and around Los Angeles as it relates to what they call the siege of Los Angeles and the ICE raids. We saw what happened the first week of June as federal agents and suspected federal agents descended on the streets of Los Angeles in predominantly communities of color. LA Taco, who was more accustomed to covering the food scene in Los Angeles, saw an opportunity to step up for the readers, for their community, for the people that listened and watched them that were impacted by this, whether directly or tangentially. And they stepped up and became frontline reporters when it mattered most. Earlier this summer, when mounted police from the LAPD gathered everyone onto a sidewalk, corralled them into one space, essentially, and started trying to trample, and in some cases, literally did trample members of the press. Javier was there. We were there. You remember we were shot at twice by less lethal rounds by an officer with the LAPD. Javier was there and fearless in his reporting, standing up to really a chaotic situation. In real time, he was there giving breathless updates about what was happening in and around Los Angeles. He covered the happenings in and around Long Beach. And we're going to get with him in just a little bit here. I don't see him in the chat just yet. We'll give him some time here to join. But what's really, hey, Ron, I love that you guys support independent journalism. And Dennis is in the house. I love that. Hey, Dennis, our buddy in the Midwest in Cincinnati. More people join the longer we're live, I love that the more people join. That's a really exciting part about this is like the viewership only increases. But let's get back to the issues at hand. So today we're giving you an update with the case of Mario Guevara that we were following. Last time we were here on Tuesday, I told you about the time that I spent with his family and how heavy emotionally that was of an experience to see a family that is just really sort of counting the days until they're able to be reunited with their father, with their provider, their loved one, their superhero. He had a habeas corpus hearing, a surprise petition hearing that the ACLU and his lawyers managed to secure. The judge there, however, despite some hope, however small that was of a chance of him getting out, there was still hope. And ultimately, at the conclusion of that hearing, the judge asked for more legal briefings and scheduled another hearing for down the road. So for now, Mario Guevara, at this point, I believe it is 76 days and counting. He's now the fifth longest held journalist in U.S. history. This is a man who did everything the right way, quote unquote. He had a legal work visa to be here. He was detained during the No Kings protest in mid-June, and he's been in custody ever since. Ever since that we have been front and center with this project, Mario Guevara has been held in custody. And I remember the first story that I wrote about him was one about how he was going to spend Father's Day in ICE detention. And I thought that was going to be the worst story that I was going to write about the situation. How could this man miss Father's Day? Now, not only has he missed Father's Day, he's going to miss his birthday, most likely, turning 48 behind bars. He has missed out on so many personal interactions. While I was at his house, his daughter was talking to us about how neighbors would come by, members of the community, because, it's a lot of people know where Mario lives. That's how he has his success. People give him tips. He's tapped in. People would literally drive by and are literally driving by to this day to ask for updates to see if he's home. A lot of people suspect, even his family, that he may have been targeted during this time because his critics will highlight that he was potentially, they think, interfering with federal operations by announcing where ICE agents were, where their operations were potentially going to take place, and spreading that information throughout the community. There was somebody who was here at the house not too long ago, at my house here in Atlanta, did work on the deck. He asked me if I knew Mario. He asked me if I knew any update, not knowing that I was reporting on his story because of how vital of a person that he is, how vital he is here to spreading information. You know, he actually wrote, I see Cynthia in the chat, he actually wrote a letter to Bukele because of the fear that he had of being sent to El Salvador, to a black site. He's from El Salvador. There's a very real possibility that he could end up there. Don't tell that to his family, though. They really believe that he is going to be out. They are standing by their faith. You go to their house and there is a sign above their kitchen that says, "Nothing can separate us." How about that? And so now they're spending going on nearly 80 days now, 3 months almost, without their dad. So we have been focusing on that story. No real update there. He's still in custody. We have an original report coming out. Our original videos launch and roll out every Monday. We have a report coming out, spending the day with his family, spending time behind the scenes there, seeing what they're going through and what their struggle is like. And then really quick pivoting, another update. We put out a story last night. We have been expanding our coverage into public health, and there has been an attack on our public health system in this country. The targeting of our very institution that once was the gold standard of public health in this country, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, where last night, about 5 o'clock in the 5 p.m. hour, my phone started blowing up with messages on Signal from sources who said that there is a mass exodus because of the politics going on at play within the CDC. Not internally, but those they say coming from HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The discrepancies and the rub that they have there is they believe that he is politicizing science for his own gain. There's issues with what he believes is actually science and what the scientists there at the CDC trust and value as being accurate. There's an incredible amount of tension and chaos happening right now. I mean, to quote one of the sources, they say it's a shit show over there. Think about this. Think about in the last 24 hours, you have had 3 of the top respected scientists in this institution leave. And not just leave, but leave with blistering statements saying that we just basically cannot handle this anymore. That the influx of politics has corrupted this institution. I know some of you guys who are watching might think that that's laughable. There are people here that I know that watch this that don't support what the CDC has done. They believe. I've gotten questions about their vaccine rollout, the science behind the vaccines. The fact of the matter is that Operation Warp Speed was one of the greatest human achievements in the history of mankind. Something that President Trump was behind, something that he supported, and something that he does not take credit for because his base and his community are all of a sudden anti-vaccine. When the majority of the country believes that vaccines are good. Put the end to things like polio. That's why we don't have that anymore. What's really scary is you think about this peeling off of these institutional minds, these leaders that have been there for decades and decades. One of the sources I talked to last night says, when was the last time you heard about bird flu? It's not because it's not something that's still happening out there. It's because we don't have the personnel to put out the information. The people that are in charge of those agencies or those divisions within the agency are gone. They've either been fired, laid off, or like we saw yesterday, they've left. I mean, these are people that were single-handedly responsible for the pandemic response of flu. who were single-handedly responsible for the advancements made in the research of HIV/AIDS. Now they're gone. Now they're gone. You know, it's really tragic what's happening over there at that agency. It's really sad what's happening over there at that agency, and it's impacted a lot of uh, people in our orbit. My wife is in public health. She's an epidemiologist. We have a lot of friends that are impacted by what's happening here. Atlanta directly is impacted. Think about all the jobs lost here to this major city, this democratic city that Trump will, you know, he won't keep himself from punching down at a democratic seated city. We've seen it happen from Baltimore to Los Angeles to potentially here in Atlanta. See National Guard troops at the ready in Chicago. The impact financially to the jobs lost at the agency. Think about that. That's something that's lost in all this because the agency is in turmoil and spinning. It's spinning. It's hard to see what's happening, the attacks on these institutions that are part of the bedrock of our country, that are part of the good stuff in what we do as Americans, part of what makes us proud to be part of this country. And then to think that it's being targeted and at the risk not of bureaucracy, but because of politics, that's really tough pill to swallow. So that's what's going on. That's what's going on our radar. That's what we're working on. And of course, next week we will be at Alligator Alcatraz. We're going to South Florida, where we will follow up on the exclusive reporting, all those reports that we've been putting out related to the corruption within Alligator Alcatraz, related to the mismanagement, the leadership failures, the shortcomings there. And now this latest judge's ruling that effectively shuts Alligator Alcatraz down. Will it really shut down? Is it clearing out? As of about an hour ago, I talked to one of the sources there that I have that is plugged in to the happenings. He says, according to somebody that he knows that is currently there right now, he's not on site, but according to somebody that he knows who is, it's all but empty there at Alligator Alcatraz. We're going to get to the bottom of that next week when we get there, but let's get to this interview here and let's see if Javier Cabral is in the building. I didn't see him yet, but I'm going to try to hopefully, and you guys know I don't have problems holding air. He's there? Okay. Javier Cabral. How do I, the glue this is always the most awkward part. I wish somebody would help me with this. And then he's going to correct me on how to say, oh, here we go. Okay. The Gletster. Here we go. All right. You're here. Javier's here. Come on in, baby. I'm so excited for this. I think you're so cool, man. I hope you could hear this too. If not, I'm just going to tell you how cool I think you are when you pop on. There he is. Look how cool.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, homie? How are you?
There.
This is actually the
Awesome
first
to
time
meet
that
you.
we've had a full-blown conversation. This is so cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I mean, you're inspiring. I see you're on top of your game. This is definitely the most organized live that I've been on. So thank you so much for having me on.
It's a
And
growth. It's a growth process here. There's a lot of people that are super excited that you're here. I know you have a lot of fans that are already on the chat and will join later. They might have to join and with some questions later. We'll have those and we'll save those for the back end. But for those of you who don't know who Javier is, he is the editor of the publication LA Taco, which started off. Why don't you explain it to us? Like, when did you guys start out? When did you? How did all the genesis of your foundation happen? And then I want to get into, after you explain that, the evolution of what you guys are now.
it's crazy, Nick. It's been a very emotional. It's definitely a roller coaster ride. LA
Yeah.
Taco, working in LA Taco for the last. All right, so I'll start. I'll do like a little quick elevator pitch of what LA Taco is.
Yeah.
So LA Taco started in 2006 by these dudes named Alex Blaisdell, Hadley Tamaki, and they loved graffiti, weed, and tacos in LA. So that was a time that was like if anyone here is a media junkie or news geek, you probably remember the heyday of Vice.
Yes.
So this was
Shane
like
Smith.
yeah, exactly. I worked there for 2 years, and I still recall on my time there. And I really do feel training. Anyways, but LA Taco started up. I like to refer to it as a baby local Vice back in the day.
Love it.
Now in 2017, 2016, when Trump supporters bought LA Weekly and they laid off everyone, including like some really talented writers, critics, art critics, film critics. They laid off food critics. LA County, which is a county of 10 million people, more now probably, or around there, They found this whole county found itself without an alternative news publication.
Mm,
So that was when the publisher, Alex Bloomingdale, decided to just be like, all right, like it's now or never. So they hired Daniel Hernandez, who is now he used to work at Vice. He's a hard-hitting journalist. Now he's the food editor at LA Times Food. And then he rebranded us as a news first platform in 2017. And then I came in the end of 2019 when he moved on, and it's been crazy, man. We've as some of us as some of your followers may know, we almost shut down and we ceased to be as a publication.
I remember that.
Almost we furloughed last year, so it's been crazy, man. It's been crazy, but we're here, and the number one question is like, why did you decide to cover ICE, or what did you? And it's kind of like you, like we didn't like. There's no huddle meeting, or there's not. It's just we have our journalism gut and intuition, and we just act on it, right? And that's
That's
just what
it.
we are still. That instinct feeling is still what leads us to this day with all our coverage.
That's so powerful to hear you say that, man. It gives me chills to hear you say that because that's really what we all saw happen evolve right in front of us. We saw you go out literally into the streets, like you were one of the first journalists out there that I saw go live from the streets of Los Angeles to cover the social resistance movement that was happening, that was directly impacting your neighborhood where you lived and the streets that you covered. It was just a no-brainer. I mean, it was as simple as that. It was, because for me, people ask me like, "Oh, you didn't plan this independent venture out?" It's like, no, I just tried to meet the moment, and it kind of seems you guys are doing the same thing.
Exactly. There came a time when, like, we had our regularly scheduled programming, right? We're a James Beard Award winning food media platform. So we had food stories, but like it just didn't it felt a little tone deaf to just keep on going like, like everything's okay when, people were getting abducted in the street. So we just pivoted, 100% pivoted, and just a monument. I'd never in 100 years as a journalist that's been doing this for 20 years. I've never would have thought that our the way that we became sustainable was by giving away our content on social media. That for me is just it was a decision that came out of desperation because we had so many tips come flying at us. I'm sure you remember like those first couple of weeks.
Yes.
Everyone was like, "Hey, there's this happening. There's that happening. There's this," and it just became very overwhelming. And we couldn't. Our tiny little team of four people couldn't write fast enough. So we're just like, all right, we can't write them fast enough, so let's just put it out there any way we can. The core of journalism, what we do is always about, it's a service to the community, and it's always about the subject. So I reflect on that on a daily basis. And I'm like, are we still serving that to this day? As you know, media changes so damn fast, very
Yes.
overwhelmingly fast. So we went to a pivot to social media, and that's how, we started doing these videos, and then that's what created the Daily Memo, which my amazing colleague Memo has been doing. So, but that's that to say that we haven't, like, we're still publishing and equally prioritizing our articles on the site because all these things about video, you and I have both heard it. At the end of the day, it's controlled by algorithms, or it's controlled by. Although Substack is different. Props on you
Yeah.
for building your base and bringing me on here, because Substack, you're not censored. You're not subject to
It
algorithms.
goes
But
directly to the consumer, to their email. You don't have to rely on an algorithm. And that's one of the beauties of this platform for the independent.
yeah, and if everyone, if all of your readers and viewers should be very aware of that, the power of that, because this, without having to name names, but there's a lot of higher powers that try to not let you report on what needs to be reported sometimes. So when you're independent, like yourself, like us, you only answer to your readers, to your members who believe in you and support you. So
How quickly did you see your viewership and your readership react and respond to that strategy? And did you lose any who were like, what is this? I don't want social justice. I just want to talk about food and stuff. Or was it just sort of, I mean, did people really just react right away or was there any pushback?
there was, of course, you're always going to know one of our most famous comments is that we're gonna probably make a bumper sticker or a T-shirt out of is stick to tacos, right? Like that's I feel like every person who decides to speak up against any form of injustice in whatever medium they do, whether it's LeBron James or whether it's, you or whether, people are always going to be like, just stick to I mean, what did who told it to LeBron James? Like just dribble the ball or something.
Yeah, it was
So
Laura Ingraham from Fox News who said, just
there
stick
you
to,
go.
like, just shut up and dribble. Shut up
Yeah,
and dribble. And
exactly.
that's exactly what
So,
I think of when they,
but it
yeah,
exactly. No, no, exactly. So that's so we did that, and sure we had some people comment that, but at the end of the day, like there's an oversaturation of just influencers, food people who just do cheese pools and can satisfy that. If you just want that, just which by the way, most of them are not transparent about being bought, getting paid $1,000 or more to post
yeah,
about
who's
these
funding
spaces.
them? Who's behind
Exactly, but
all of that?
so we just did it because it felt right, and the crazy thing about this jump to social media to posting videos and not we still have a paywall for our more for our guides and stuff, but the crazier thing, the scarier thing has been there's no way to quantify these things, like because once you put it out there on social media, it's really hard to monetize, as and it's really
Yes.
hard to quantify. But
Our
you know,
millions of views is not how we make our money. We take the millions of views and we funnel that to Substack as a way to get paid subscribers,
yeah.
which is why the people that are watching here are literally part of our team. They're part of this mission that we're on.
Yes, and at the end of the day, like you're only as good as your last million views. So there's gonna be another viral person, another viral video, like already probably blowing up as you are also blowing up, and then you're gonna be yesterday's news, and that's how hyper light speed headlines and news moves nowadays. So I can't
Yeah,
stress
but
the
the
importance.
difference between you guys is you're not somebody in your garage who's just regurgitating headlines or who is like the quote unquote influencer. Even if you are influencing, even if you were having influence, you're out there, boots on the ground, flesh and bones journalists reporting from the front lines. I mean, like that's clear to everybody.
Yes, yes, for sure. Thank you so much. But yeah, I mean, even as we speak right now, Lexus, our investigative reporter, the shot on 35 millimeter, he hit the Home Depot because there was a confirmed raid at MacArthur Park, Westlake, at 7:15 a.m. this morning. So he was like, "All right, I woke up and I seen this. They're probably gonna be in the area. I'm gonna go to Home Depot and just wait around and see if I get lucky or unlucky, and just be ready to strike, be ready to cover just as they are." So it's that gut feeling. He didn't run that by me this morning. He just decided on his own to go, and I endorsed it as the editor in chief. I support it because that's how we got. And I feel as journalists, we always have to honor that inner voice, that inner feeling of reporting on what you want to report on.
Speaking on 35 millimeter, he was there during the MacArthur Park, raid fit for reality TV. We wrote about it where they did that massive sweep, and it was more for, it seemed, propaganda than anything else. Talk to me about that. Like I think because you guys are so big, it's almost like, okay, we got LA Taco here. Now they're going to report about it. Now there's more eyes on this propaganda. Do you ever feel like that being a rub at all, where you're like, shit, man, here I am at this scene, and are the feds using us to disseminate what they want out there?
Yeah, we don't. Yes, I mean, right, as you know, a lot of people came to LA to cover this, and we encountered so many other. I mean, done interviews with like journalists in Czech Republic or in Germany.
Wow.
And it's been very overwhelming, very also humbling for our little newsroom of now six
The
people.
Washington Post profiled you
The
guys
Washington
and your
Post,
team.
yeah. So but we again, even though someone else reported on it, I again, it's we as journalists, we always have to check our ego and be like, am I writing this because I want it to be to first to report it and not do this service to my community because someone else already covered it. In my case, I still instruct all of our reporters. I'm like, look at okay, we got outscooped by LA Times, or we got outscooped by CNN, or we got outscooped by like MSNBC. Who cares? Let's still cover it. Let's still report it. At the end of the day, so more people who are aware of what's happening, the better. And that's why hopefully you're in this career.
I want to give you guys your flowers because that's exactly right, man. You have created a platform where it doesn't matter what others have talked about or how they've reported. People are waiting to see how you guys report it out. People literally want your take on it. The Daily Memo has become part of the daily diet for a news consumer in Los Angeles. Like it gets shared thousands and thousands of times. So what is next for you guys? How do you see now that you've evolved, now that you've met this moment and are being sort of profiled by these mainstream legacy corporations? What's next? How do you continue to keep that grittiness, independence while still, while blowing up basically into the mainstream, into the mainstream?
There's that challenge, that's the challenge, I take a deep breath every morning and I ask myself that same question. I reflect on it. I feel there's no, there's no like enlightenment in journalism. There's just, wake up and be like, all right, what's the name of the game today? What's the name of the game this week? I feel that we're going to keep on, having this new tempo, pushing it, the daily memo. We're giving them, we're all helping out, pitching in and giving them all the resources we can.
Yeah,
We're also gonna emphasize the importance of local media and having journalists you trust, even in non-crisis times, because that's you know this line: if it bleeds, it leads. It's like the golden rule of journalism,
I know.
and I don't it shouldn't come down to that. It shouldn't be tragic for you to give a damn, or it shouldn't. And that's what we're trying to have some new campaigns and messaging to just keep supporting this and to keep doing this. And then
We shouldn't
lastly,
be the bad day
we're
guys and show up only on people's worst days.
exactly. And lastly, we October 1st is when this injection of all this new big beautiful bill money is about to be enjoyed or used by all the federal forces. So they're getting ready, and so are we, and I know you are too.
Absolutely, man. Because it seems as though where we see information going, it seems like it's getting squeezed more and more at the top, and people like us matter more and more. I know the answer to this, and it's not baiting. I want to hear you say it. I want to hear what you have to say about it. What do you think independent journalism can do that legacy media can't do?
Don't be afraid of leaning into your strength. And if you're independent, you probably have a lot less boxes to check, for a lot less people to have to show your work to, and just get it out as soon as you can. I feel that's the importance of independent media. If you're independent, you should be fearless. You should, of course, be driven by integrity and ethics and accuracy and objectivity, and just show, don't tell forever. But I feel like it's we're all human. Like, even if you're independent media, you're still human. You get a little, we're not robots, we're not machines. So we do
Right.
get a little burnt out. We do get a little burnt out. We also do. Um, it gets a little sad sometimes, or too tragic, of just like the daily, just of these happenings, of these icy tensions. So it's, we just gotta just take deeper breaths and know that what we're doing and what we're going through is our historic times. And they're getting new energy, and so should you. So whatever resources you have, put it into publishing and being quicker, because that is the main difference between corporate media and independent media, or legacy media and independent media, is we're a lot more nimble, we're a lot faster, but we're also subject to our own discipline and our own goals. So what's your goal? What's your discipline?
That's it, man. I mean, I think of the example of just like being able to pull over really quickly on the side of a highway to get a shot rather than like, I'm not turning a 747 plane anymore in the CNN newsroom, right? I mean,
That's a great
sometimes to get
analogy.
it's so hard to get things going sometimes. And God bless the veterans that I work with, but like, someday you get older, it's harder to move, man. You got to be nimble. You got to be dodging the less lethals and everything that's out there. You brought up filling your cup, you brought up how you deal with all this stuff. I'll tell you, man, and this is the first conversation we've had in full. I was really happy to see you take your vacation. You talked about putting, really, honestly, Javier, you talked about the conflict that you felt internally, like, it was the height in the middle of all of this stuff happening. You had a pre-planned vacation with your partner. That's what I gathered. That's what I pull away from you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? And then you decided to go. Can you talk to me about that decision? Because that's, we have journalists, future journalists, people that watch this later. They look up to you. You have set a standard, right? Tell me about the decision making that went into the process of saying, "Hey, I have to take care of myself if I'm going to step up when I come back to take care of my community."
Thank you. That's a great question. I feel every journalist is a workaholic, and you probably don't know how to turn that off. You're not, even when you're on vacation, you're probably thinking about how you can write a story on something. Even when you're, especially if you're like me, like food, culture, music, whatever. And
So true.
but I've I've been editor of LA Taco since covered the Black Lives Matter movement, covered the pandemic, covered the fires, and then now this, right? So it's four once in a lifetime events that are happening, and we're it's again, there's always gonna be stuff to cover, but like, what good is it if you're mentally fatigued and if you're physically fatigued? And it just, we all, as much coffee as you drink, as much as you work out, as much as you do all these like self-help practices to kind of get into your zone. Like, again, we're not AI, we're not machines. So, we I just what that decision came. You're a family man yourself too.
Yeah.
Yes, we can keep on reporting, but at the end of the day, like, we're nothing without our support systems and people who believe in us and support us. So we can't ignore them and ignore other parts of our lives. In terms of mental health and in terms of physical health, and of course in terms of your support system. So that decision actually was supported by my team, and everyone was like, dude, go. Because, whether we're there or not, like, Memo was actually out during the whole time of the fires, and he had a family vacation too. And I told him, like, dude, just go. Like, this is, we'll handle it here. Like, we just go have a good time, because you're more valuable as a journalist with a refreshed mind. So you can think of sharper headlines,
Yes.
think of better
Yes.
ideas, have cleaner copy, and again, just show the power of human powered journalism versus over reliance on AI.
There's always going to be another story, right? There's always
Exactly.
going to be another story to cover, and that's something I'm so grateful to hear you say that, because it's a really big challenge that I had as a journalist, a young journalist, a cub reporter. I struggled with letting go of the big story. I felt like if I wasn't there, then I was failing. I also felt for a long time that if people's pain wasn't my own pain, then I wasn't being a good conduit of information. So how do you, as a journalist, when the pain of the people that you're covering is kind of your pain, Javier, like, you're covering the pain of your neighbors, your family members. How do
Yeah.
you separate that line, man? I mean, that's hard. We each know. I know you know. I'm banking on it that you know people that
Yeah.
are in detention right now, or that have been deported or have been taken into
Yeah, yeah,
custody.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, all my family from my mom's side all live around East LA, and while most of them have assimilated, and they do have partners and do have family members, extended family members, and this is a question that it's a big one, right? Because as journalists, you and Annenberg, you know that, like, we're supposed to just hit the five interrogatives, like who, what, when, where, why, how, and just
That's it. The
report what is going,
fundamentals, right?
the fundamentals: who, what, when, where, why, how. And but yeah, there comes a time when you start to just see it in yourself. I mean, I started to kind of pay more attention to this when I saw people, just random strangers, like, send me DMs like, "Hey, I saw your video. Like, are you doing okay? How are you doing?" I even had a therapist who has like a TED talk on like psychosomatic therapy reach out to me, and I was like, all right, if I have like a therapist reaching out to me, like, asking me if I'm okay, I should probably read. I should. And then I was like, okay, but, like, look at, like, why. I mean, I think journalists, I like to say reporters, like, we're kind of like effed if we do and effed if we don't, right? Because we kind of need to produce journalism or write, or in your tips, create video. I'm sure write too. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you go crazy. Like, we need a, and that inner deep sense of, like, I call my journalism gut, my freedom of expression was just kind of scratching to get outside while I was out there just reporting on these things, just presenting videos, presenting articles. So then I'm like, I forgot about the power of the ultimate power of first person, and just being transparent and being honest with yourself. So we actually have, one we've at LA Taco, we have found a lot of success leaning into that first person reflection from the heart, in a letter from the editor format. And I've been doing those. I'm gonna do another one this week. I've probably
I
done like
loved
three
it.
or four of them already. And that one, I'm like my full, self, and I don't have to have a mask on, like a journalism mask. I can just be like, hey, these are my feelings, and I'm kind of sad right now, and just be vulnerable. And
Yeah, I
and
think
that's,
that
I
that's
feel.
part of the beauty of independent journalism. That really is the superpower of what we're able to do, is that the authenticity can come through. it's not like trying to be authentic. It's just like, hey, let me see who you are. Pull up the sleeves. I want to see the scars, man. Like, I don't know. I really feel like the more I'm myself, the more I unlearn some of the things that I have learned are great and mainstream
Yeah,
and my traditional schooling. Some of the other things I'm having to unlearn. And as I'm able to say, hey, this is who I am, man. And like, you said something earlier. I don't think there's objectivity. I really don't. I don't think that you can be objective because we're not robots. I can be fair.
yeah,
I can try to be as fair as I can. And I think maybe what I'm seeing the response in from the audience and community is that once you kind of show like, hey, I'm trying to help the undocumented community here. There's no discrepancies or misgivings about what I'm putting out. This is to help our community. And so I don't know, man. Like if that's my bias and that's the hill that I'm going to die on, then like so be it. And people want to judge me on that, so be it. And I think that that is what I'm learning to be one of the great strengths of independent journalism.
yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, there is. I mean, if you want to get really, really kind of like speech and debate about it, like yes, I mean, objectivity is truly hard to achieve, and I feel. I'm probably gonna get this tattooed on my neck one day. Is like just show don't tell, right? Show don't tell, and I think that that's like uh I think that there's power in that, there's humility in that, and if you show information, people can make their own decisions, but they also can look you up and to see what kind of person you are, and they can make their own decisions in that way too, right? Like they see me, I have like a little like punk like blonde streak. I grew up in like Mexican American East LA, like they could probably make their own. Okay, this dude is probably like has these kinds of belief systems, and that's okay. I mean, what we assume that by becoming like little poser hood celebrities, right, or people or like people, we have public profiles, so that's fine. But yeah, man, I think
I
that
call
that was
myself less than a D-list celebrity, man. I mean, it's like some people, I don't operate in the world like people know who I am, but occasionally I get noticed. It's what it is.
yeah,
It's
man,
cool.
exactly. And I get noticed at like punk shows, which for me like makes me almost cry, man. It just I like to see like a kid in the pit like just like throwing elbows and then with an LA Taco hat or like a taco shirt. I'm like, oh, what's up? Aren't you that guy? And I was like, man, that for me is the kind of like I'll trade that over fucking getting noticed at Erewhon any day.
Yeah,
You know?
you're like, I was listening to Buck 09 before you were in diapers, man.
Yeah,
God, I love
exactly.
it. I
And
was a little ska rude boy kid growing up too, man. But you're clearly still real deal about it. I love it. I love it. If you guys are just joining us, we've had a great conversation the last 30 plus minutes here with the editor of LA Taco, which started essentially sort of as a baby Vice and quickly grew into in the last several years a hard news publication. And they we're in the middle of the ice raids that happened earlier this summer and continue to happen throughout Los Angeles County. Javier Cabral was there during the one of the really ugliest days, I would say, for the social resistance movement when police started opening fire on the press, members of the press. They were on mounted horseback. They corralled people onto the sidewalk and started literally targeted trampling people. I saw one journalist get trampled. Talk to me about going through that, Javier, and sort of how that was a moment, a real watershed moment in what we saw this summer.
thank you. Yeah, that was crazy, man. When you were out there, it was like what I think like 18 days of straight demonstrate of pure
Yeah.
demonstrations every single day here in LA when all this was first kicking off. So to see like LAPD just get more aggressive every day a day because you were there every day and you saw them be a little more gentle in the beginning and then be a little bit more like bold and then just straight up. I think that moment was a turning point moment. I think you were there when the horses trampled over. It was like
I
a
was right on the
Wednesday, I
front
think.
line. Yeah.
Yeah, it was right, and it was people were shouting peaceful protests, and they did not care, and they just stormed in. So again, you're human, so you have all these reactions. You have like fight or flight kind of kick in. You have like, okay, I want to get a good video, I want to get a good photo, because otherwise, I can't do anything. So it's like a crazy like split second decision making to just stay safe, but also like get the content, get the video, get the photo, and every second, every moment is you make that decision. Lexus Olivier Ray actually is being represented by ACLU and is a plaintiff, one of the I think three plaintiffs that is actually suing LAPD for being shot at with pepper balls. And there's lots of clear documentation of this. I don't know how it's gonna. I think it's moving. It's moving forward. So I don't know if they're gonna go to court or if they're gonna settle. But that those are the kinds of things that you have to do, and the kind of risk that you put yourself in. And it is really all about luck, right? Like I'm sure you've been in these scenarios where like I've felt like these less lethals just like whiz by like my arm or something, and I see like a kid next to me, like a skateboarder, just get like banged up, and I was like, damn, that could have been me. And of course, like I unless you're like a big baller, legacy, a corporate brand, you probably don't have a ballistic vest on you, or you probably don't have just have like I had my freaking bike helmet, and I finally bought some like protective goggles, some shadowproof goggles after I saw some pretty scary stuff out there. So it's yeah, these are all risks that you assume when you become a journalist, and but always got to be safe because if you're not safe, and also you have to obey the law, right? Like you're not like journalists are not immune to that, right? So there's been a lot of decisions where I chose to not do something like, for example, like going to the freeway, but I stay on the embankment right on the edge, and I still got all that footage and all that video and all those photos. So you have to be strategic, and you have to be smart, and you have to learn how to separate your emotions and your anxiety, your fight or flight versus your job, and it's a balance of all those three things in real time, which is a lot harder than it looks like sometimes.
It's so chaotic, and for us to try to thrive in that environment and then put together coherent sentences, which you were, which I was trying to do as well. I mean, it's really where you're really stepping up into the moment and counted on, right? And I in 2020 I got shot in the back by what
Oh
I
man.
believe was a rubber bullet. And it herniated a disc, a C6, C7
Oh
vertebrae,
man.
which pinched a nerve, and my arm would go numb. And I thought I had two epidurals. I thought I was going to have major back surgery. I went out there, and one of the things, in LA, that was in Atlanta that happened at CNN Center. In LA, I was by myself. That was my first go at no corporate backing. I didn't have a big team with me. I had the iPhone that I was the same iPhone that I'm using for this show is what I use for all of my reports, and the same microphone, this DJI microphone. And, you
Mhm.
know, I saw people that were more clearly labeled than me be deliberately targeted. And then when you see a
Yeah.
judge have to issue an order to say, hey, LAPD, stop fucking with journalists, stop targeting journalists. I mean,
Yeah.
that was really hard to see the willingness and just, I mean, LAPD, those officers, man, they clearly lost their cool. They were so over it. And in a moment where like, you got to do your job, man. You talk about us having to do our job and respect the rules. That's the problem, Javier. They weren't playing by the rules. They stopped playing by the rules. The feds are not playing by the rules right now. I have you here, and one of the things I wanted to ask you while you were here is the mayor came out and said LAPD was going to start checking the IDs of uh, suspected ICE agents to verify that they were actually not bounty hunters or real people. We reached out and filed a Freedom of Information Act request. My executive producer and I, Eric Sandoval, they asked for more
Mhm.
time. Do you know anything about this? Do you know if they've been able to, or how many cases have actually been documented of them finding people that are or are not real ICE agents?
There's only been, I mean, I think you should have Memo on the show for that question specifically, and it give you a more accurate answer. But from what I've seen and from the pictures that I've received and from the videos that I've reviewed, it's only maybe been like, I don't know, less than five, like straight up. So it's still very new, and that is the question of the moment: is who is going to enforce all these new laws that are either passing right now or about to be passed, and these are questions that aren't being directly answered, and every single time we have a politician on, or every single time we on the Daily Memo, what we people we always ask this question, and it's a very like it's a very weaselly answer, so I think
No one ever
there
really
hasn't
answers
been.
it. They find a way to not
Yeah,
answer the,
yeah,
yeah.
and we have we have an opinion coming soon by an attorney who he's actually going to go to the next police commissioner meeting and ask this question directly. So stay tuned. We'll have the article next week, I think. So it is a question that it's on a lot of people's minds. I'm sure it's on a lot of journalists' minds, and the amount of fear around like the feds is crazy. On even if you're local, if you're state, and
Or if you're
again,
an
if you're
activist, or somebody that's like
yeah,
seemingly, this ambiguous term of interfering with a federal investigation. Now we're seeing people like look what happened early on in Huntington Park, that 6 by 4 foot hole that was blasted through a home, activists, the guy with the mask, that was arrested, activists are being targeted. The lines are being blurred, Javier.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, if you were out there on like No Kings protest day, that was brutal. Like that, like it just people were there was blood. There was like blood and more blood. It was brutal. Like, that day was like probably one of those violent days that I've ever lived through in my life. And but I'm like an optimist, and I I always see the beauty in things. And that day I just found myself moved by all the volunteer medics that are out there. They're like straight up nurses that are demonstrators as well, or they're out there in a neutral position, but they're just there ready to help with like backpacks full of first aid kits. And I saw them, applying first aid to like gushing blood out of heads, or people that had like their hands severely, just messed up by being trampled by a horse. So yeah, it's even though a lot of them were chanting peaceful protest, even though a lot of them uh, didn't do anything themselves. As you know, there have been some agitators in these protests who
Sure.
I'm sure you've seen them. I've seen them. But that's a very small percentage of the actual people that really believe in protesting and your First Amendment rights. So it's yeah, it's I think the LAPD is lucky that there hasn't been that many demonstrations recently, or any big demonstrations, because it's become, right now at least, a thing of the past, fortunately. But I think we're gonna see, and as taxpayers who live in LA are gonna be paying for a lot of these lawsuits that are gonna be, because I'm still getting pitches about No Kings protest. Like, how long has it been? Like about 2 months, a month
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
half.
Yeah. More than 70
So
days. I mean,
so
yeah.
yeah, more than yeah. So it's I'm still getting pitches about, like, with videos, with footage. So there's definitely attorneys, and there's definitely people who are either suing, about to sue, and I think that day is going to live in, for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, these issues we saw pop up. If there's any silver lining, there was a spotlight put on some of these issues and some of the potential bad tactics used by local law enforcement. And hopefully that, leads to some change within the department. I think there's always been issues within LAPD, though, even when I was growing up there, the Rampart scandal and all the shit that happened there, man. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate you coming through. Is there anything that I haven't asked you? I mean, there's so much more that we could talk about in journalism, and I really want to be respectful of your time, though. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think is important to know, or anything that you'd like to talk about? Now's your chance, man.
No, just, everyone document everything. If you see something, say something. If you see something, take out your phone and take a video, take photos. Even if it ends up being a false alarm, you'll be a lot grateful for yourself and for the community if it doesn't end up being a false alarm and you're witnessing something about to happen. I want to also address, someone's in that age. We're still in the streets and outside of the detention center, guys, every night. So yes, there is still a 24/7 protest happening. I know yesterday we confirmed that LAPD used one of the anti-homelessness ordinances to clear them, but I don't know if they're back yet, or there were they were getting funds to go back out there. So yeah, so there are protests. They're just different and not as intense as like these more, you know, these organized protests where a lot, like, thousands of people showed up. So,
No,
but
things have
yeah,
been
that's it,
active
man. Thank you
outside
so
there in
much.
downtown, for sure, for sure.
Support, yeah, just, everyone here, just support your local journalists, man. Keep supporting Nick. Keep supporting LA Taco. Keep these tips coming. And if we don't respond, it doesn't mean we don't like you. It just means that we're probably really overwhelmed, or it's just, yeah, don't take it personal, or I love that. I don't know if you've seen that social media analogy. It was like a meme or a tweet that someone posted. It was like, if you say "I love bananas," and if someone says "Wow, orange erasure,"
Yeah,
or
yeah,
"Wow,"
yeah.
or like "Apples lives matter," and I'm like, guys, it's like, we're humans too, and we don't, we're seriously probably trying our damn best to perform at the highest, at our highest ability. But we do mess up sometimes, and but just acknowledge and move on, and communicate,
You're
transparency.
doing great, man. I'm so inspired by what you do. You guys are setting the standard, setting the bar. How can we follow you? Your handles, your hashtags, all that stuff.
Yeah, so you can follow me if you just put my full name. I mean, sorry, my alias, the Glutster. I created it when I was 16. So it's kind of like just stayed with me my whole life. root word. So it's Thegluster. It's kind of like how it's spelled here,
Okay.
right? It says the gluster here, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then just support, follow LA Taco, and share our stuff. If you can become a member, I totally understand. It's hard times right now, but just share our stuff, and yeah, and just keep supporting journalism even in non moments of in crises. Hold on, someone's asking
Yeah. We
best
didn't
taco
even
spot
talk
in
about
LA.
tacos, man. What's the taco spot? Number one taco spot in LA.
Well, daytime or nighttime? I always ask that question.
Ooh. Okay. How about? I mean, are you going to say Mariscos Jaliscos for daytime? I love that.
Of course, man. You know what's up. Yeah, I know what's up. And like, yeah, I love Maestro Jalisco. I love Raul so much. It's just I I do beach cleanups as much as I can. I love the ecosystem. I love nature,
Beautiful,
and
man.
it's hard. I'm gonna advocate for not using styrofoam plates. So it's hard as you get older and you still do this job because you realize that's a systemic issue. But yes, I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent. Mariscos Jalisco is the best, and but I'll likely probably be my plates, or I'm that crazy, or my own paper plates. I don't know. But and then
What? Yeah.
for
Nighttime
nighttime,
spot.
Sonora Town, 100%. If you want like a brick and mortar, they have the best tripa, the best asada, the best cabeza,
Ooh.
and then for street food tacos at night, it doesn't get better than well, there's two now. I think Tire Shop Tacos is still the best. They're in South Central off of Avalon, like about a
Okay.
mile away from LAFC Stadium. They're still crazy good, and like it's so crazy. Like it's kind of like a little like chef's secret spot. I mean, it's not secret; everyone knows about it. But you might go there one night and see like all of like I don't know, like some local celebrity chef like filming a segment there or something, or some local. So, but then you also have a lot of like paisas. So yes, and to answer your question, I definitely order. I used to order my tacos con todo, but I stink when I eat onions. So I
Oh, who
actually now
cares?
I well, you have a wife, you have a partner, people around you care. So I've actually have transitioned to only ordering cilantro and a bunch of salsas on my tacos. And also if I do eat onions, I usually caramelize ones, like the ones that are kind of cooked in fat or whatever, because those are
Man,
softer and I don't smell as much. These
dude,
are, it's funny, right?
I would love to take you out to lunch, man, or something, or like buy you a coffee or just hang out next time I'm in LA. We'll be back there for a few weeks for the winter time, but thank you again for this time. I'm really just so grateful for your time and for you joining Nick Valencia Live. Thanks, Javier. Appreciate it,
Thank
man.
you. And then I'll put in a good word with Memo because he needs to be on here too. Hold on. And one more question: the original Tommy's are In and Out? Neither. I love the habit. I love hamburger habit. If I'm gonna eat like fast food burger, the
Thanks,
best one
Javier.
right there.
Appreciate it. We'll
All
have
right.
Memo
See
on
ya.
next. That was awesome.
All right. See ya.
Yeah, see you, brother. See you. That was great. That was the editor of LA Taco. That is Javier, the one and only Javier Cabral. Whoa, what a conversation, man. We got into it at the end with the tacos and the food. We could have kept going. I guess I should have kept going. I don't know. Sometimes I guess I probably cut these off too soon. We had a great conversation about God, the evolution of journalism there for the LA Taco. They really have stepped up in a big way for the community in terms of being informers, in terms of being, right there when things happen. When shit hits the fan, LA Taco is there and they trust their instincts. These are folks that have a lived experience and are in the community and they know the community. They know their readers. They know what people are looking for, and they've been thrust into this role here to step up. Washington Post is a great profile of them. If you guys are interested in learning more about them, go check out the Washington Post article on them. And then, really, sincerely, they're one of the great ones to go out there and support. LA Taco, subscribe, like, share, comment, all the things. We are wrapping up for today. We had a great conversation. Thank you guys, Ashira. Thank you, Nat H. Thank you guys so much, Cynthia. Everyone that was in the chat that contributed. We also have some really fun news here. Just earlier this afternoon, we confirmed State Senator Jason Estevez, who is the gubernatorial candidate for the Democrats here in Georgia. He will be joining a special edition of Nick Valencia Live on September 23rd, along with Democratic gubernatorial candidate Olu Brown. And potentially, we have put out the invitation to the former mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms, who is running for governor as well. We thought we'd expand here. We're getting a lot of traction and sort of starting to create a news-making discussion here. So we thought we had Olu Brown book, Senator Estevez. He's expressed some interest. Hopefully, Mayor Bottoms feels the same. And we're going to create a town hall discussion that impacts you, all of you guys that are Georgia voters, people that live in and around Atlanta, in the state. If you guys want to know more about your Democratic gubernatorial candidates, you will get to learn more. Come with your questions. Send us questions, Nick at nickvalencianews.com. Love that. Thank you, Nelly. Thank you for following along. And I hope you guys got something out of that. Big news here, big stuff. We are just so grateful for all of you guys' support, everyone that watches, everyone that shares our stories and continues to show up for us, man. Just continues to be there when we need you. Thank you guys for stepping up for us. We're trying to step up for you. This is Nick Valencia News. That's the latest edition. We are unafraid, we are unfiltered, and we are unbought. Have a great day on purpose, everybody. Take care.